Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and thank you for tuning in. Today the book that I'm going to be reviewing is actually an author's very first book and it's called Black Book by Mateo Askaripour. It's actually my favorite book that I've read so far this year and I'm super excited to be sharing my thoughts about it with you. So let's get it started. So what is Black Book about? So Black Book is a story set in New York City, and it's about a young man named Darren. So Darren is, at the beginning of the novel, he's not a very ambitious person. After high school, although he was very smart, he didn't go to college, and then he started working at Starbucks, right? And he's content with that. He has his girlfriend that he's been with since like forever. He has his friends in his neighborhood. He has his mom that he loves, and they happen to have a very sweet relationship, by the way. And again, he's cool with what he has. So he's actually a manager at his Starbucks, and even his colleagues, they seem to like him. And that Starbucks is located in what seems to be like the business district of New York City, I think. Like it's in one of those really tall buildings where you have like the coffee shop, the Starbucks at the first floor, and then the other floors are different businesses or corporations or companies and whatever. And so most of the people who come and get their coffees are people who actually work in the building. And so one day, this guy named Rhett, and by the way, it's a name that I really don't like Rhett. I just can't stand that name. I'm sorry if your name is Rhett, by the way, but I just, whatever. But anyways, I'm sorry. You can say that you don't like my name. I don't mind. But so Rhett comes get his coffee in the morning, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was in the morning, but he comes and get his coffee, and somehow Darren, out of nowhere, convinces him to get something else as opposed to what he actually wanted to take in the first place. So Rhett is impressed by that. So he's like, you know what? I see a lot of potential in you. You should come and see me at my office, and I might have an opportunity for you. So reluctantly, Darren decides to go to visit Rhett at his office, and Rhett offers him to work as a salesperson in his company named Someone. So eventually Darren accepts, and then when he goes to that company, he finds himself to be the only Black person there, and then he has to overcome what they call Hell Week, and it seems to be like the first week where you're hired and you're put through training, and it's kind of like a sink or swim type of environment where they really push you, and if you overcome that, then you're good and you work for the company. So that week was really, really hard on Darren, but eventually he overcomes it and then gets a position as a salesperson at the company called Someone. And so eventually Darren finds a lot of success, and that's actually where he got the nickname Buck. And I don't want to go too much into it because I want you to read the story, but he eventually finds a lot of success, and the nickname that was given to him, eventually he embraces it, and that becomes like a new persona for him, and he becomes so successful that he gets access to things that he didn't have access to before, and that starts to change who he is. So he starts to act differently, he starts to speak differently, to act differently, and that to the point where the people that love him and have been around him his whole life, like his girlfriend, his friends, his mom, they don't really recognize him anymore, And as you know, or as I hope that you know, is that if you find success and you turn into somebody else, a lot of times you can only get so far before you hit a wall. You know what I mean? And that's eventually what happens to Darren. And so then after he hits that wall, he decides that to create an entity that would give more opportunities to people like him, people who are otherwise overlooked, or people who just don't get the chance to go out of their environment. So he creates an entity to give more opportunities to other people of color, so that they can get a space in the workforce, in the corporate world, in the sales world. And so that's what he decides to do to redeem himself after he hits rock bottom. But as it goes, whenever you try to level up the playing field in any setting in life, you will be met with a lot of resistance. And we follow Darren as he overcomes all of these things after he creates that entity that helps put more people of color in the sales force. So that's pretty much the premise of the book. It's a book that I really, really enjoy. I give it like a 4.5 star out of 5. I never do that. I don't like to rate books, but if I could rate that book, I would definitely give it a 4.5. It was definitely a fun read. So the book is actually like satire / dark humor, and I think it was really cool because I read a lot of books that talk about serious topics, right? And a lot of those books tend to be emotional, which is great because I'm very in tune with my emotions, so I don't mind that. But it was a great change to read a book where the author uses humor and satire to kind of talk about things that otherwise make us uncomfortable. So that I thought was really cool. I laughed a lot throughout that book, or at least smiled. So I thought it was very nicely written in that way. And the way that the book is written, it's kind of like so sort of a fake self-help book. So basically the book is written from Darren's perspective in the past tense, where he's telling us his story, but it's kind of like, it feels like a sales manual at the same time. So you will have like a lot of boxes where he will have like some tips for you, but those tips are for sales, but you can also apply them to life. And a lot of those tips are actually funny, but they make a lot of sense as well. So that I thought was pretty cool and pretty original as well. So when I started reading the book, and I noticed that it was, again, that setting where it's kind of like a fake self-help book, sort of memoir-ish type of thing, I knew that the book was something that was different. So I was not expecting the book to go like the traditional like story arc, right? So for me, it was a lot of fun to read something that was very different, that was not something that like I read before, and I thought that I commend the author for even like doing something like that. So yeah, again, like I said, for me it was a 4 out of 5 stars that I would give this book. But I was curious to kind of see what other people didn't like, and I feel like some of the criticism that people had of the book, I get it, but I feel like it's one of those things where if you read something that's unconventional, then you can't really expect a story arc to go the way that it usually goes, right? Like, there's the starting of the book, and then there's like the climax, and then the ending. Like the book is more of a roller coaster, but that roller coaster actually starts like on the second half of the book, in my opinion. So for me, I thought it was cool, but some people had issues with that. And I kind of feel like if you're in order to maybe like help your experience reading the book, I think you should read it with an open mind and understand that, it's not a story that's alike to something that you might have read before. So the second half, you go into this roller coaster, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And also the fact that it's satire, I feel like it's an exaggeration of like things that could normally happen. So of course you're gonna have like a lot of things happening. So for me, I didn't mind the fact that the second half goes crazy compared to the first half. So it doesn't ruin the experience for me as a reader. So again, as far as the structure, the writing, I thought it was great. I thought that Darren was a very endearing person. And what I loved about Darren is that we meet Darren as, again, this an ambitious guy who is, a sweet guy, a very caring guy, but but we see glimpses of what Darren could be, because when you see him interact with his colleagues at Starbucks, he's a leader already, he's a manager, and he is like a team guy, and he motivates them. So you can get a glimpse of how Darren actually is. One of his colleagues has a Tourette syndrome, and Darren actually shows him a lot of compassion and a lot of understanding. That gives you a glimpse of what Darren can be, as far as like, you see it as well as the mother during the book, that he could do great things, right? And eventually things go up in Darren's head, and you see him change. And after he hits rock bottom, I love that he doesn't completely go into the old Darren. So the core of who Darren is, which is this smart but caring person, we see it again in the end, which is the core of who he is. But we see that everything that he's been through actually changed him for a different Darren, which is a great Darren, but still that changed him. And I thought it was good. I really love the evolution and the ups and downs that Darren goes through, as far as his personality and who he is and how he acts, because I think that a lot of books that are written a little too simplistically, the person just goes back to whoever he was before, as if like things don't change you in life, as if your experiences don't change the way that you are. Like there's no way that you can be as naive as you were before after you went through life, right? So I really love the character evolution of Darren. I do wish that we had a little bit more about his love interest, which is Soraya, his girlfriend. I really wish that we had a little bit more about her personality, because she's such an important part in Darren's life, that I kind of wish we knew a little bit more about her, because she's a female character in the book, and I like when we get like a more complete. So I'm not saying that like Soraya is just an idiot. Like that's not what I'm saying. She's great. She's sweet, and their relationship is really, really nice, by the way. But again, I kind of wish we knew a little bit more about her. Other than that, I also love the relationship that Darren had with his mother. I thought it was very sweet, very like heartwarming, and I really love, again, throughout the book, how much you laugh in the book. Just that I don't want to give everything away, but just the fact that Darren actually doesn't like coffee, and the irony is that he actually works at Starbucks. So it was kind of funny to see how he's annoyed with certain things, or the way that he can recognize coffee just by smelling it. Another thing that I really appreciated in the book is that as a Black person who has found herself in many spaces where I was the only person of color, there's a lot of things that I have experienced that I saw in the book, and it's fun to read something that you can relate to. And sometimes it would actually make my blood boil, because there are characters that you wish you could slap the crap out of, you know? So that book kind of you when you read that book, I experienced that book a lot like watching a movie. And I think I read somewhere that the author is like shopping that movie around in Hollywood, and I really hope that it turns into a movie, because and that whoever makes that movie actually makes it great. You don't want somebody to ruin that. But I really hope that it turns into a movie, because it could be a really fun movie to watch, something that could make you laugh. So it makes you laugh, but it makes you think at the same time. And I thought it was just like a genius book by a young author, his debut novel. That's incredible for him to write something like that. And for me, what I like the most is that it's refreshing to read a book that talks about the experiences of a Black person, but not from a traumatic place, but from a humoristic way. You know, humor is great because it allows you to talk about certain things that would otherwise make you uncomfortable by laughter, you know, but it makes you think too. So I think that it's great because Black people can relate to that book, because I'm sure you have experienced a lot of the things that you have experienced, that Darren has experienced. But on the flip side, if you are someone who is white, for example, then it can make you kind of think about either the things that you have seen in your workplace. Maybe you have seen some colleagues who were acting the way that some of these colleagues are acting, or maybe you have been guilty of doing some of the things that these characters do. I think that everyone can kind of think by reading this book. Although I have to say that I find that most of the time people who are downright racist, I don't think a book like that is going to change you. But I think that if you are someone who might have made certain comments or certain attitudes towards someone without any malice, without any malicious intent, maybe that book can make you think that maybe, you know what, when I was at work, when I told that girl that her hair looks like this way, or when I say that this person looked like that person, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So it just kind of could make you self-reflect, and also make you laugh. For the most part, this book will actually make you laugh. So that's it for my review. I hope that you enjoy it, and I really hope that you pick up that book, because again, I think that it's great to have books that talk about the Black experience, but from different angles. And so this book definitely talks about, you know, Black people in the workforce, and how a lot of things are unfair, and what happens to people who try to level up the playing field. So it was a lot of fun to read. This book is like a roller coaster of emotions and of laughter, and I hope that you read it. And if you do read it, I would love for you to share that with me so we can talk about it. So that's it for my review. I hope that you enjoy it, and if you have, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel, and feel free to share with your friends as well, and I will see you for my next video. So